Hello everyone, today we're going to be learning about power, square, square roots, and the law of indices. To kick off, if you have been asked to multiply 2 with itself 5 times, you will get the answer of 32. But instead of multiplying it like this, which is in an extensive form, we can simply write it as 2 power 5, which will give us the same answer, 32. Now in this question, 2 here is our base. 2 is our base, while 5, which is our power, or also called an index. Now, if you have been tasked to evaluate 3 to the power 4, keep in mind this simply means multiplying 3 with itself 4 times, which gives us the answer of 81. Now, squares. What does it mean by square? Basically, the square of a number is the result of multiplying the number by itself. If someone asks you to find the square of 3, it basically means multiplying 3 with itself, which can also be written as 3 square, which will give us the answer as 9. Now, a square root. What is a square root? Well, it's quite the opposite of a square. The square root of a number is a value that, when multiplied by itself, gives the original number. It is the inverse operation of squaring, just as shown below. But a square root will always have a positive and a negative value. How, you may ask? Well, if you take minus 3 and multiply it with minus 3, you will get minus 3 square, which will result in 9. And if you add a positive 3 multiplied with a positive 3, it will give you a positive 3 square, which will also give you 9. So both of the possibilities are there. 3 could either be negative or positive. And when solving these kind of equations, the positive sign is not always written. In fact, it may never be written. If there is nothing written in front of a number, it means it is positive. And if there is written a negative sign in front of a number, it is negative. One important rule to keep in mind is whenever subtracting a number, whenever you take a negative number multiplied with a negative number, it will always result in a positive number. And whenever taking a positive number, multiplying it with a positive number, it will always give us a positive number. Now, the law of indices. There are 6 laws, so let's start. Law number 1. When multiplying 2 or more numbers of the same base, the indices, also known as powers, are added. In algebraic form, it will be written as a to the power m into a to the power n, which will result in a to the power m plus n. Let's do an example. Take 2 square multiplied by 2 cube multiplied by 2. Now keep in mind, whenever a digit does not have a power written on top of it, it basically means its power value is 1. So, if we write it in extensive form, it will be written as 2 into 2 multiplied by 2 into 2 into 2 multiplied by into 2, which gives us the answer of 64. But we can also do this in a much easier way, which is just taking the powers, which are 2, 3, and remember, when there's no power written, it basically means the power is 1. So we take that power, write it there, and we add the powers, 2 plus 3 plus 1, which simply gives us 2 to the power 6, giving us the same answer. Now, law number 2. When dividing 2 numbers having the same base, the index in the denominator is subtracted from the index in the numerator, which in algebraic form is written as a to the power m divided by a to the power n, which results in a to the power m minus n. Now, did you notice this is the exact same as the previous question, but the only thing that is different in here is the sign. Here it is a division sign, which means we're subtracting m with n. But in the law 1, there was a multiplication sign, and we were adding m and n. So keep that in mind. Now let's do an example. 2 to the power 4 divided by 2 to the power 2, or 2 squared, which is equal to, in extensive form, this is how it's written, and which will give us 2 to the power 2 after cancelling out the common ones. We can also write it as 2, take both of the powers and just simply subtract them, giving us the same answer, 2 squared. Law 3. When a number which is raised to a power is raised to a further power, the indices are multiplied. In algebraic form, it would be written as open bracket a to the power m, close bracket to the power n, which can be written as a to the power mn. Now mn simply just represents m multiplied by n. An example is given here. Open bracket 3 to the power cube, close bracket, to the power square. If you write in extensive form, this is how it would be written, but if you want to make it simple for you, you can simply write it as 3, take both of the powers, simply multiply the powers, which will give us 6, and our answer will be 3 to the power 6. Now, law number 4. When a number has an index of 0, its value is 1. Algebraically written as a to the power 0 is equal to 1. For example, if we have 3 to the power 0, how will it be is equal to 1? It is clearly stated that it's 3. Well, in this law, we recall the law 2, where we basically divide both of them. So if we simply take 3 and divide by itself, we will get 1. Law number 5. A number raised to a negative power is the reciprocal of that number to a positive power. Algebraically written as a to the power negative m is equal to 1 by am, a to the power m, and a to the power m is equal to 1 by a to the power negative m. Now, there's one thing you might notice while solving these kind of questions. In these type of questions, when in the question there is negative, the answer is always in positive. And whenever in the question there is positive, the answer is always negative. Law 6. When a number is raised to a fractional power, the denominator of the fraction is the root of the number and the numerator is the power. Algebraically shown here, a to the power m by n is equal to open bracket n root a close bracket m, which can simply be given an example. It can be simply written as 8 to the power 2 by 3. Always remember that the denominator goes on the root and the numerator goes with number. Thank you for learning. Hope you learned something new. Goodbye.